We live in an age where remasters and remakes of all our favourite games are being released regularly on modern consoles. This is not only a great way to re-experience the games we grew up with all those years ago, but also to introduce these classics to those who never got a chance to play them when they were released. However, there are certain JRPGs out there that are stuck in the past. This video is going to count down the top 10 standalone JRPG titles that have been lost in time, that are not accessible on modern hardware. But first, a few ground rules. To qualify as a standalone title, the game must not be part of a large series, and I'm classifying a series as something with 3 or more titles. To be considered lost in time, the JRPG has to be inaccessible on modern and last generation consoles, either physically or digitally. Before we get into the top 10, if you liked this video, it would help me out a lot to hit like, comment and sub for more JRPG content coming soon. I'd also like to know what you thought of the list. Do you agree with my picks? Did I miss anything good? Let me know in the comments below. Alright, let's get into it. First on the list, we have Threads of Fate, also known as Dew Prism in Japan. This classic action RPG was released in 2000 for the PS1, and since then it's only been made available on the PS3, Vita and PSP stores. Threads of Fate features 2 protagonists, Rue and Mint, each with their own unique storylines and abilities. Both of these characters set out to find a powerful relic said to make any wish come true. This action-focused combat is fairly simple but a lot of fun, and I really like the different playstyles between both characters. Rue is able to transform into defeated enemies, while Mint can use elemental magic. Threads of Fate also has a lot of charm and some really quirky characters. Some of the dialogue and character interactions are hilarious, but despite being a really enjoyable experience and having a large fan base, Threads of Fate was not a commercial success, which is probably why we haven't seen a remaster in the modern day. At number 9, we have Lost Odyssey, a title stuck in Xbox jail. This JRPG was developed by Mistwalker, who of course was founded by Final Fantasy creator Hironobu Sakaguchi. Lost Odyssey follows the story of Kaim, who is an immortal who has lived for 1,000 years but lost his memories. Throughout his journey, he confronts various threats and gradually regains his memories, which creates some pretty emotional moments. This game is just a solid JRPG with a great story and soundtrack, but what else would you expect from Hironobu Sakaguchi and Nobuo Uematsu? Lost Odyssey was well received and still has a large following today, but unfortunately there are still loads of JRPG fans who haven't been able to experience it if they're not on the Xbox train. Next up, we have an action JRPG that no one ever seems to talk about, Brave Fencer Musashi. In 2005, there was another title released that shares the Musashi name, Musashi Samurai Legend, but these games are not linked in terms of their stories or characters. As the title suggests, the game follows Musashi, who is a young swordsman summoned by the All-You-Can-Eat Kingdom to defend it from the Thirst Quencher Empire. And with those names, you can probably tell what kind of game this is going to be. Brave Fencer Musashi is light-hearted and humorous and one of the most charming titles on the PS1. In terms of gameplay, Musashi features a mix of action, platforming and RPG elements. He is able to absorb the abilities of monsters with one of his swords, and this can be used to take on other enemies or solve puzzles and other challenges. Like many other games on this list, if you want to play it today, you have to either buy it on the PS1 or download it on the PS3 or PSP Vita stores. For the next entry on the list, we'll talk about 2 directly related titles, which makes them a duology. Digital Devil Saga 1 and 2 may be part of the Shin Megami Tensei series, but they are spin-offs, so I'm okay with classifying the pair as a standalone title. These games were originally released on the PS2, then later released on the PS3 store, but by all reports, they run really poorly here. Digital Devil Saga is set in a dystopian world called the Junkyard, where various tribes fight for survival and dominance. The plot begins with the tribes being infected with a demon virus, granting them the ability to turn into demons. To ascend to the promised land Nirvana, they must battle it out and devour their enemies. This is where the line from the title comes in, which has been burnt into my mind for years.
Rend, slaughter, devour your enemies. There is no other way to survive. You cannot escape your hunger. Warriors of Purgatory.
I really liked this story. The dark dystopian setting and atmosphere and the characters' journey to deal with their new abilities were the things that really stood out for me. Then you've got your typical SMT press combat system along with some pretty brutal difficulty spikes. If there's any SMT sub-series that is screaming for a remaster right now, it is Digital Devil's Saga. At number 6, we have Folklore. This is one of my favourite JRPGs on the PS3, but is another one that not too many people talk about. And this is no doubt partly because it was only ever released on the PS3. Folklore is set in the mysterious Irish village of Doolin and draws heavily on Irish mythology. This setting and the overall visual style and atmosphere was some of the standout features, but it's the story that's told through two protagonists, Ellen and Keats, that makes this title a must-play. These two characters are drawn to Doolin for different reasons and soon uncover that the village has some dark secrets involving the netherworld and spirits. The gameplay and combat was also really cool. Both characters have different playstyles, which involves catching creatures called folks and using them in battle. I know that so many of you would absolutely love this game, which is why it's so sad to see it lost in time. Released in 2000, which is very late in the PS1's lifespan, Vagrant Story was met with critical acclaim. I mean, it currently holds a Metacritic score of 92%, which is insane. The game is set in the Kingdom of Valendia and follows the story of Ashley Riot. He is an elite agent known as a risk breaker who is investigating the connection between a cult leader and a senior member of the Valendian Parliament. This is definitely one of the most complex and mature JRPG stories that I've experienced, with themes of political intrigue, betrayal, and personal redemption. Just like the story, the combat is also incredibly complex with a very steep learning curve, but don't let that put you off because Vagrant Story is a must-play title in desperate need of a remaster, or better yet, a remake. Due to its immense popularity within the JRPG community and critical acclaim, it baffles me that it hasn't had one of the two yet. If you want to give it a go today, it's only been re-released on the PS3 store. At number 4, we have a title that I've only just finished playing for the first time. Just like Lost Odyssey, The Last Story was also developed by Mistwalker. Released in 2012 for the Wii, this game was one of the last JRPG hits that we got for the console. This action JRPG follows a group of mercenaries seeking work in the city of Lazarus, with the main character Zale dreaming of becoming a knight. After receiving a mysterious power, Zale finds himself playing a crucial role in the unfolding events. The Last Story was loved by fans for its gorgeous visuals, outstanding soundtrack by Nobuo Uematsu, and unique, innovative combat system. However, the major reason that everyone should play The Last Story is for, as the title suggests, the story. And the characters, they are pretty awesome too. The Last Story may be full of tropes and archetypes, but in my opinion, this did not stop me from having a ball. Surely it's only a matter of time until Mistwalker remasters some of their classics. At number 3, we have Radiata Stories for the PlayStation 2. This action JRPG, developed by Tri-Ace, follows the journey of Jack Russell as he joins the Radiata Knights as his father once did. The major conflict of the game is between the humans and non-human creatures, and Jack finds himself right in the middle of it. At one point, the story branches out, and you'll have to choose which side to team up with. This has an impact on the story, the allies you can recruit, and the ending. Speaking of character recruitment, this is the one thing that I loved the most about the game. There are loads of characters that can be recruited around the lands, each with their own charming personalities and abilities. The city also feels so alive, with NPCs following their own schedules and even having a day-night cycle, and this was well ahead of its time. If you haven't played Radiata Stories, you absolutely should, but unfortunately, your only option is buying it on the PS2. It took about 20 years of people yelling, "Oh my god, play Skies of Arcadia," to finally convince me to play Skies of Arcadia. And I am so glad that I did, because it is absolutely worthy of the praise that it's been receiving for over 2 decades. Skies of Arcadia was released on the Dreamcast in 2000 and then ported over to the GameCube a few years later as Skies of Arcadia Legends. The game follows the adventures of a young sky pirate named Vice as he teams up with a bunch of other characters to stop the Valuan Empire from reviving ancient weapons capable of destroying the world. Skies of Arcadia tells such a fun story with charming characters and great dialogue. It is such a feel-good game. There is something really special about flying around in a large airship, exploring the many floating islands of the skies and taking part in epic airship battles. It is truly a crime that nothing has been done with this game for over 20 years. Skies of Arcadia is a classic journey, one that all JRPG fans should experience. At number 1, we have one of the most beloved JRPGs of all time, Xenogears. I understand that this is the part of a broader Zenos series, or developed by Tetsuya Takahashi, but it is completely standalone from the Saga and Blade trilogies and was made by a different studio. Without getting into how they may share similar themes, I still think Xenogears qualifies as a standalone title for this video, but feel free to fight me over it. I come wielding a lightsaber, so approach me at your own peril. Plus, I freaking love the main vocal theme, so any excuse, right? Xenogears has taken the title of Best JRPG Ever Made for many gamers. Despite this, there has been no physical re-release since 1998, with a digital version only being obtainable from the North American PlayStation 3 store. What can I say about this classic that you don't already know? Xenogears tells arguably the most complex, deep, mind-blowing story ever told in a video game, and for this reason alone, it is a must-play title. Bay's journey of self-discovery is full of psychological themes and more twists and turns than you could ever imagine. The game does have some jank though, and a rushed second disc, making this my number 1 desired game to get a full remake. One can only hope. Now, let's play that song. And there we have it, the top 10 standalone JRPGs that have been lost in time. What did you think of this list? How many of them have you played? Did I miss anything good? Let me know in the comments below. If you liked this review, it would help me out a lot to hit like, comment and sub for more JRPG content coming soon. See you next time.